Well, it appears that by default I'm the moderator here. So, and this is a good one because I have already heard both of their answers.
Then let's hear yours. Let's hear yours then.
Okay, we'll see. When someone tells you they want to be a pastor, what advice do you give them then?
I tell them to go over and talk to the head of the Christian Ed department and ask to teach a third grade class. And if you can learn to communicate God's truth to third graders, you'll then be able to communicate God's truth to anybody.
I believe it. I couldn't have said it better myself. However, I think there's one other thing you do. You send them to Romaine. And if they survive Romaine...
We learn by doing. How did Bob learn? He told us today. By doing, stepping out, doing it. That's the way we learn, is by doing things. And it's important that we learn to communicate God's truth in an interesting way. And of course, when you've got third graders, if you don't keep it interesting, you don't have them anymore. They're way off someplace else, you know. So learning to communicate God's truth in a simple way. Simply teaching the Word of God simply.
Yeah.
You know, we try and sometimes to be, you know, very profound. We want to make sure that we have our homiletical outline and all this. No, just simply teach the Word of God simply. And you learn by doing.
I have nothing to add. I agree wholeheartedly to the same question. Yes.
I have sometimes said to people that if they think they want to be a pastor or something, if there's anything else that you can do, do it. But if you find that you just can't take doing anything else, then you probably will be a pastor and can make it. Because it really has to be a focus. You may work as a pastor. I did, and I know that Chuck did. You may have secular employment in order to be able to be a pastor, but that's exactly what it is. It's secular employment just so you can support your habit.
In reality, didn't James sort of discourage be not many masters, knowing that you'll receive the greater condemnation? In other words, you have to realize that there's a tremendous responsibility that goes with the ministry. Because when you stand before the people, as again Bob was sharing with Moses, you are representing God. I don't know, have you gotten there yet with Moses? Or?
We did that earlier.
Okay. I figured that maybe you did.
However, you wrecked my sermon tomorrow.
I didn't know that.
You did. But you're a survivor.
I know. Let me ask a question. Let's get on another subject. I know I have this question asked of me really quite frequently. People will come to me and say, what seminary should I go to? What kind of higher education should I get into? What would you say to them, Chuck? What would you say to them?
Now, we are accused by many of the mainline churches of being anti-intellectual, which is far from the truth. The disciples, I would recommend you go to the same seminary that they went to. Sitting at the feet of Jesus, learning from him the truths concerning God. It's interesting that when the disciples came before the Sanhedrin, they marveled at their understanding of the Word. And they took stock of them that they had been with Jesus. You can't beat it. Just allowing the Lord to teach you of his ways. Now, we were this afternoon talking about having begun in the Spirit, will you now be made perfect in the flesh. Some of the
Go ahead.
it's going down again.
I know. I'm the moderator. You talk.
Some of the Calvary Chapel pastors that God has blessed, and they have very large churches, some of them felt a need of, because they have large churches and they want to minister abroad and so forth. People are always interested in degrees, and so they felt that they should go back to college and get their degrees, and some of them did go back and got their doctorates. And we have a great time. We have sort of, we get together with some of these guys that were with us from the beginning, and it's like when Gayle and I get together, we just have a rip-roaring time, just bantering back and forth and battering back and forth. And so we were razzing these guys for their doctorates. And Louis Neely, who pastors the Calvary Chapel in Sacramento, had what I thought was the classic statement of this little session. He said, well, if you guys get enough education, you can probably reduce your churches to manageable sizes.